Hi, today we're going to talk about how to handle difficult conversation and three things to watch for and three things to do. Every CSM has had situations where you are faced with a customer that doesn't want to talk to you for various reasons, and some of the reasons can be because you didn't do what they expected you to do, and maybe that there are some other reasons where you cannot do what they are asking you to do. But anyway, you need to handle difficult conversations. This is one part of the job that every CSM doesn't want to do, doesn't like to do, but still has to do them. So it's kind of, in the next few minutes, we're just going to talk through some of those things that we should watch for and some of the things that we can do to kind of make things a little better for the customer and for yourself. The three factors that derail the conversation. The biggest factor is focusing on the negative. I mean, if you kind of just start off the conversation with what hasn't worked, what was delayed, what the expectations that were missed, you are starting off on the wrong foot. You always want to start off the conversation with basically a small win, if nothing else. If there are some achievements from the project, that's the best way to start off. If not, then there may be some personal achievements that the customer might have shared with you, either via email or something like that, or on their LinkedIn or some other social media, and they might want some kudos for it. So go for it. This is the perfect time. Kind of can get people a little more comfortable with the situation, with talking with you, and having the difficult conversation that pretty much everyone knows is coming up. The next thing is, that a CSM should always be watching for is rising emotions. These difficult conversations can lead to, various emotions that could be driven from shame, could be driven from embarrassment, and things of that kind. So watch your own emotions, watch your customers' emotions, and the best advice here is not to try and put a lid on it. You know, to some extent, maybe we'll talk about it in the next one. But you know, do not take notes. Pay full attention to what is being said. Do not try to record this meeting or anything like that. You want it to be as free flowing and as you know off the record, quote unquote, as it possibly can be. But watch your own rising emotions. I mean, if you think you are getting too upset for various reasons, take a break, go to the restroom, go or anything like that. And like I mentioned earlier, even with the emotional state of the customer and yourself, as a CSM, you still need to control the conversation. You need to keep it moving forward, and the best way to do this is to have an agenda and do your homework. You might have heard me say this in some of my other videos. Doing homework before you go in front of the customer is always a great thing to do. And especially for difficult conversations, you absolutely want to have a detailed agenda. You do not need to present all the details on a slide or anything, but have it with you so you know what you're talking about, what are the takeaways, and how you're going to move forward. And I've even seen some CSMs go one step forward and actually assign some time limits to each of those agenda topics. And in some cases, based on the customer that you're talking to, actually having a time limit that you share with them is a good thing. And in some cases, it can backfire. So it's up to you to decide how you want to do this, but do definitely assign some time limits. I'm going to talk about agenda item 1 for 3 minutes, agenda item 4 for 5 minutes, or anything like that. So that definitely helps. Now that kind of we talked through some of the factors that can derail the conversation, now let's kind of move to the next slide, which are things to focus on, right? So how do you want to prevent all of these different things that we talked about that can derail your conversation? The first thing I want to highlight is, just because you have done your homework, you have a detailed agenda, do not try and dominate the conversation. You might have some points that you want to make during the conversation. Make them once and that's it. Don't keep harping on the same point over and over and over again. It just comes across as rude comes across as you're not interested in what they're trying to tell you. And even if they're wrong, they still want to make their point, right? So empathy is a word that you have also heard me talk about in some of my other videos. So this is where it kind of comes in play. So do not try to dominate the conversation. Let the customer talk. Let them express what problems they might be having. And we talked about the emotional state in the previous slide. So let that happen. The second point again I want to make is emotions sometimes might come with body language, verbally, and sometimes just with body language. So watch for body language, not just what is being said, but also for how the customer is keeping their hands or things of that nature. There are lots of great videos. I know most of us don't know how to read body language. That's okay. There are lots of great resources online that you can use to get at least some semblance of training to read body language. You don't need to be an expert. You're not trying to decipher every little nuance of various things, but still be aware of body language. And this is something that I want to kind of highlight, especially in our post-pandemic world. A lot of calls are happening on videos, on Zoom and Teams and such. And sometimes body language can get hidden from you just because you are kind of looking through the window of a little 2 by 2 inch, area of your screen. But still, kind of, focus on that, right? It's something you want to be aware of. I know, and phone calls are the worst, no doubt about it, because you just absolutely cannot see the other person, or a Zoom call with only audio is the same thing. But still, be aware of, if you are in person, then absolutely watch for body language, for your own body language. Make sure that you come across as, friendly, not closed off, not, trying to, you know, mm, show signs of microaggression or anything like that. Be relaxed, be friendly, and do so not just in face-to-face meetings, but also do so in video chats, conversations. And the last thing I want to kind of touch upon, this is mostly ignored, just because it kind of sounds to some people silly, maybe to some extent. But believe me, silence is your friend in these conversations. You do not want to rush from, point A to point B, to agenda item one to agenda item two. You don't want to do that. Absolutely. Say something, and then just let it sit. The customer is processing. There's a lot of, on the plate for the customers. Just give them time to think through things. You don't need to rush in to fill a second of silence. Just keep quiet, let it sink in, give the customer time to process it, and if possible, let them restart the conversation. And if, of course, I've seen rule of thumb of about 6 seconds to 8 seconds of silence, and after that, if there's still nobody saying anything, you may want to jump in and get things moving again. But again, don't try to fill in every awkward silence with your own voice. Just let it be. Silence is good in many situations, and this is probably one of them. So there you go. I just wanted to quickly touch upon three things that can derail a difficult conversation, and three things to focus on to make a difficult conversation a little less difficult. Thank you for your time, and of basing this on my experiences as in this field of CSM for a long time, and I hope you like it. And if you do, subscribe to my channel. Thank you.